Hello, everybody. It is 2:58 p.m. Central Time on the 24th of April, 2021. It's Saturday here in the United States. Hope you're doing well. We are here to talk about seismic events. And yes, I am recording. We're going to put this over on YouTube for people to watch back. It's been about 5 days since my last recorded update. And if you're watching on YouTube, again, guys, this is recorded over on Twitch live before my audience. And if you want to come over and join us, you're welcome to do that. Okay, so let's get a display capture turned on here so you can see what I see. And we're going to start over here in the West Pacific. For my new viewers, just really quick, in case you don't know what you're looking at here, the earthquakes that are raised high off the globe are deep down into the earth. And the deeper the earthquakes, we pay attention to the deep earthquakes where they are, because spreading out from where the deep earthquakes happen, we see shallower, larger earthquakes take place. And what I think is happening here is basically just leverage coming in on the underside of the plate. What I think is happening is over the course of hundreds, if not thousands of miles, deep down below the plates in the magma, coming up out of the magma in the mantle, going up into what's called the asthenosphere, which is just a complex word to describe the area right below the plate. It hammers in on the underside of the plate, out of the fluid of the magma. It can't compress down into the fluid, so it gets hammered in the underside of the solid plate. Then there's a spread that takes place. First, one hammer comes in, causes a little bit of a ripple to spread out across thousands of miles and very low frequency. Then, as more hammering takes place, it pumps more energy into the system. So think of this wave tank here in the laboratory more like this, what we're looking at here from the USGS, that the wave tank is where the red lines are. So instead of it being a perfectly straight wave tank, it gets pumped full of energy across thousands of miles from that hammering action, again coming in from down below with these deep quakes. So first the hammering action pumps energy into the tank, starts with a small disturbance. Then as you pump more energy in, guess what? Well, the more energy you pump into it, the bigger the outcome you get. We start going from threes, all spaced the same size going across a huge distance, to fours, then to fives, then to sixes, then to sevens, and we go forth, depending on how much energy is pumped in. Okay, now a few days ago when I did my last update, we had warned that we were going to be going back up to 6.5 level. Well, look what happened. A 6.4 to 6.5 earthquake struck. This is down at 300 kilometers deep. You'll notice it's right on our letter D. Letter D stands for deep earthquakes. It's a spot where we forecast and issue warnings for new deep earthquakes to take place. The other spot where our deep earthquake over the last 48 hours is right in the middle of our other letter D. Now the letter Ds have been on the map for 8 years. We don't move them. All the arrows, all the Ds, all the X's, they all stay in the same spot. This is where we watch for repeat occurrences. Again, this is forecasting, so we watch for repeats of events. We get a deep 6 down below the plate here. Let's go over to the USGS map. Let me show you where it is, right here. So think of lever pulling up on the underside of something, and then we have cracks that go through the plate, spreading out to the west, to the south, and on the USGS map here, you don't see anything over to the east, but over to the east, we have fracture zones that go east and west. They all point right back to here. Okay, what am I getting at? A big deep 6 down below the plate here means we have to watch for a shallower, larger earthquake. And we're dealing with a 6.5 already, so if it's going to be larger, that takes us up to the 7 range. About a half magnitude larger to a full magnitude larger is what we expect when we get deep 6s like this anywhere on the planet. And this spot we watch to the west, to the south, and to the east for the spread to take place. It goes semi-equally all the way out and around the whole area, going out across the whole planet. Now, I'm going to show you something else here. This giant dome shape here. You see where it spreads out to? Goes down to South New Zealand, goes over here to the fracture zones. The fracture zones, again, are east and west facing fracture zones here. And it goes out all the way over into the Solomon Islands at Papua New Guinea. Those are the 3 spots to watch. South New Zealand, over to the east going out into the mid-Pacific, and going to the west over to Papua New Guinea. Now, the biggest earthquake should strike to the west and to the south of where this is taking place, which puts our big earthquake, this 7 that could be coming in here in the next few days, coming into the Solomon Islands to Vanuatu. Vanuatu is right here, and Solomon Islands are right here. Okay, so where the ring reaches out to down to South New Zealand, I would look for something in the 6-ish range. So for this to go to the west, I would think 7. For this to go to the south, I would think 6. And to go all the way over here, I would think in the 5-ish range coming across. It's a huge distance to spread out. Now, when it comes out to here next to Easter Island, right there, the back side of the arrow, that little splotch of a dot, we would then watch for new 6.5 or similar sized activity to break out over in Chile at the dead end where all this energy is coming across to. So it's 3 spots that are going to get hit. 6 to the south, 6.5 to the east, and a big earthquake most likely to the west, southwest of this big, deep 6. Okay? So one more time, a couple days ago, actually 5 days ago, got on, issued my warnings for the new return to 6.5 level activity. We are right back at it at 6.4 to 6.5. We went a whole week and a half, 2 weeks without any. Over to the west, look at the spread that took place. First of all the deep earthquakes, again, raised high off the globe. You'll notice one 2 days ago right here, but look where I zoom in, and now you can see it, the other letter D. So all of our letter Ds have been getting hit with moderately to majorly deep earthquakes, which means something's going on down below the plates, guys. It's pretty basic. Movement down below the plates means something's going on down below the plates. But we know what caused it. The solar activity that came rolling in the past several days. We had solar disturbances buffet the Earth, dropping charged particles into the north and south pole, which then goes down to the center of the Earth, to the core, and within a few days of that, we see a spread come up with new deep earthquakes. So now we're dealing with 4s, and make note of the magnitudes going across this huge area. This is, again, twice the distance the United States is across. We go from Fiji all the way over to Indonesia, but the magnitudes, 4.7, 4.4, 4.6, 4.5, 4.5, and then we go back over to another 4.4, then we go up to a 4.8, then we go from 4.8 up to a 5, as we go up into northern Indonesia into Philippines. Over to the west, same thing, 4.4, up to the north beyond that. Look at the spread going across Japan. I want you to make note of this, 4.5, 4.5, and then see here in the middle, we have a 4.3, and up to the north, we have a 4.3. So 4.5, 4.5, 4.3, 4.3. What's in the middle? A 4.4 and a 4.6. So the bigger is in the middle, in between our previous sets of 4s. That's significant. Now the deep earthquake is down below here. That's the deep 4.4. But remember what I told you about the standing wave tank at the start of the update. First the hammering action with the deep earthquake. Then the spread of the same sized earthquakes through the wave tank as you pump more energy in. So think of it like this, 4.5, 4.5, 4.3, 4.3. And in the middle of the tank where they come back together, that's where the push comes up underneath. So standing wave spreading out across the whole Northwest Pacific. But to see it, we have to go back this far up into space basically to see the spread. Physically to see the spread. Another way to look at it, you don't see it on the USGS map here, 24 hours of course. And here though, on the West Pacific, let me make sure that my display capture is capturing this. Going from Taiwan up across Japan, all the way up to Kamchatka, Russia. Again, twice the distance the United States is across, and we have 4.5, 4.5, 4.3, 4.3, and in the middle, look where they come together. The H-shaped bend where the plate boundary comes across into Japan. So are you shocked that first we get a hammering action down below and then we see a spread go across the whole region? You shouldn't be. It's a standing wave spreading, just like down here. If we're dealing with 4.5, 4.5, 4.6, 4.6, and a 4.4, and then over here we're dealing with 4.5, 4.5, 4.6, and 4.4, we go to the north and we take a step down, 4.3 to 4.2, but then look, it all pulls back up with a new 5 next to Seismopochnoi. Seismopochnoi volcano! I love saying these things. Let's go over to the Volcanic Ash Advisory Center and take a look. Here it is on the list. Fuego in Guatemala, of course, but there's Seismopochnoi. Niet. I took Russian in high school. I'm not even going to do it now, man. My Russian viewers, they might think I'm disrespecting them, okay? Sakurajima in Japan, Seismopochnoi again. Dukono, Suwanizajima in South Japan. These two are right next to each other, Sakurajima and Suwanizajima. Popocatépetl in Mexico City. Fuego again, multiple times. It's been blowing nonstop. Anybody new on the list, aside from Semeru, which is over in Indonesia, we have Mount Ibu, Mount Sinabung, Mount Semeru, Mount Dukono. Those are all going over in Indonesia right now. Sanjay and Reventador are down in Ecuador in South America. And that gets us into a day and a half, 2 days ago. Okay, let me show you where these all are. First of all, where the rings overlap, right here, Seismopochnoi. It's erupting. Multiple blasts. Now down here to the south, yesterday, or 2 days ago, Mount Ebico was on the list. It's not there today, but where the rings overlap here. But then again, these earthquakes are from yesterday, so where the rings overlap here, eruption. Where the rings overlap here, eruption. You're going to find that's a common theme as we go down across and look at the rest of these. Sakurajima and Suwanizajima in Japan, South Kyushu, right here. Right next to where the earthquake is. But we get that earthquake out of there. Again, that's from 2 days ago. And you'll see it's the halfway point between the previous sets of earthquakes. Just like up to the north. Go down to the south, it's a little bit more of a hot mess to see, but right where all the rings overlap, Mount Dukono and Mount Ibu are both erupting. Over to the west, we have to go back 2 days to get the rest of the earthquakes here. There we go. There's our last 6. And Mount Sinabung, B-U-N-G, not B-U-N. A lot of people think I'm saying Cinnabon. Here in the States, we have a chain that sells cinnamon buns called Cinnabon. And it sounds like I'm saying it when I do my updates because I'm from the Midwest and I just can't orally differentiate terms great enough. Okay, there we go. So, Cinnabung is right there, and it's the previous spot again. Mount Semeru is down to the east by southeast. So, Cinnabung, Semeru. We go all the way over here, and we have Ibu and Dukono. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Up here we have Sakurajima and Suwanizajima. That's 5, 6. Up here to the north in the last 48 hours, Ebico and Seismopochnoi. That's 7, 8. That's 8 eruptions on the Volcanic Ash Advisory Center. These aren't just lava flows. These are actually putting off blasts, which they have to warn pilots for. So we have 8 on one side of the Pacific. Let's go over here to the East Pacific. Popocatépetl is in Mexico, right outside of Mexico City, right next to where this letter V is, in Mexico. As we go further down to the south, we have Mount Fuego, where all the rings overlap. You think that's coincidence? It's not. Guess where those volcanoes are. Fuego is right here, where the red line comes in. This is the plate boundary for the Caribbean. So we got 2 volcanoes at the mouth of where all the flow comes in from the Pacific. And we're getting eruptions there, of course. So 1, 2, then we go down to the south, and we have Sanjay and Reventador. That's 3 and 4. That's in Ecuador. And then we get down to Sabancaya, which is hard to see, but it's, again, right here where all the rings overlap. Now, where the rings overlap, I want you to think of that like a pressure point. Or a 2-arm scale, where you've got weight on one side and weight on the other. And the middle point is where all the weight accumulates to balance out. Well, we're not talking about weight, we're talking about this seismic force, but the same principle takes place. We start getting earthquakes and eruptions right in the middle, in between the 2 areas that are currently in flux, even if they're thousands of miles apart. So the pink-colored earthquakes are 2 days old. Here's what's happened in the last day. The same thing that happened over in Japan. Let's get back over and show you one more time. The standing wave. 4.5, 4.5, 4.3, 4.3, and a 4.6 in the middle. What are we dealing with in South America? Look, 4.6, 4.6, 4.3, 4.3, with another 4.6 in the middle, and one's raised slightly high off the globe towards the middle. It's the standing wave, but it's spreading out across an uneven tank of South America, and the uneven tank is the red line again, the plate boundary. But it's the same principle. The entire plate is shifting on the same basis, Northwest Pacific, Southeast Pacific, And then just like all the way up here in Alaska, next to Seismopochnoi 5.0 at one tip, we got a 5 all the way down here at the southeast tip on the adjacent plate going into Antarctica. So 5 down here, equal spread going across Central and South America. Same with all the way up here to the north. 4s going all the way across with a 5 up to the north. The whole Pacific plate has started to shift, which means big earthquakes are coming this week. Get ready for it. You know, the media will probably ignore it unless it strikes in an area that really matters, but with people in it, if it strikes out in the ocean, it's like the tree in the woods thing. Okay, let's go over to the west where we go across China and Russia, where we don't have any seismic activity reported in the last day and a half, almost 2 days, or 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. We have to go back almost 6 days to get any earthquakes reported out of a continental-sized area. Oh, there's something wrong there. Lack of reporting, not lack of seismic. Do you really think all of Russia and China would go quiet for 3 days? If it does, we're going to be looking at a bigger earthquake in the middle. I don't think that's the case, but I think it's just lack of reporting. So what we should see is a spread of the same-sized earthquakes, just like what's going on up in Japan, just like what's going on down in South America, that we should see that spread go across over into Asia, following the red lines again. Going up through Myanmar, going to the west, but you'll notice USGS has nothing across Mongolia, Russia, China, but I've got giant arrows there that point into the Taklamakan Desert, or Taklamakan, I can't say it right. Okay, it's in western China, this giant desert, and then here's Siberia and Mongolia, and here's eastern China. So you don't see any earthquakes reported there, but I would expect the same size that's going to Japan should be going across this way, coming out from the north and coming in from the south. So there should be at least 2 lines of earthquakes coming in from the south, coming in from the east, but it's quiet. And if it's just from reporting of earthquakes or lack of, that's good. But if it's a Mother Nature actual quiet, it means bigger earthquake coming in into Asia and Russia. But I would look right in the middle of it, which really would put China in the mix. So that would put China, Nepal, we would look right in here in the middle. In between the two, if it's really quiet and there's nothing coming across Siberia, and it's really quiet and there's nothing coming in from the south, got to remember there's an eruption happening right here at Mount Sinabung. That if the flow's cut off, it will break free and it'll strike at the middle point between all of it, which will put it pretty much like right in here in Mongolia into China. The smack middle of it all, if Mother Nature is quiet. But again, I think they're just not reporting the quakes out of here, so then that would mean both areas are going to get hit by 4s going into near 5s. So that would mean the same size that's going in China, or going in to China from Japan, is going to be striking here. That's 4s. If I'm wrong, it'll be a bigger earthquake. Gulf of Aden, check it out. Moderately deep earthquake here, which is somewhat rare. We don't normally have to deal with 200-kilometer deep earthquakes, but the spot where it's happening, we need to go back over to the USGS map again. Check it out. Plate boundary. You see the Gulf of Aden here with all these little jagged edges of the plate boundary. It goes up to a number 7 shape bend, which is called the Carlsberg Ridge. It goes into South Iran and then over into Turkey. The other direction this goes is down through the Red Sea, up across Egypt, up across Israel, back over into Europe, South Mediterranean. So striking here with a deep earthquake means we have to warn Iran, and we have to warn all the way over here at the mouth of the Red Sea going into Egypt, maybe even into Israel, but I would think more like right over here next to Saudi Arabia. Both sides, guys. Both pinnacle tips, here and in here, should get hit by something larger than what's currently here. So with a deep earthquake, that's if this is a deep earthquake. One agency is reporting it at 10 kilometers. That's USGS auto depth. So wait, hold on. Wait, let me click on that again. Yeah, USGS auto calculated depth, 10 km. Okay, whatever. And then the Europeans are weighing in and saying it's 200. So if this is a deep earthquake, again, this should spread out. Let's use the analogy that I used at the start of the update. Whoops. Hold on. Clicked on the wrong button here. There we are. Looking at the dome again on this, the spread out, look where it goes. I would look to the north and to the west. That's the way the arrows point. That's the way the flow normally goes. So if we go to the north, we're encompassing into Pakistan, southwest Afghanistan, central Iran, going across into Iraq, then down across Saudi Arabia into the central Red Sea, even going into Africa. So if we're looking to the west and to the northwest, that puts Red Sea and Iran, and technically southwest Afghanistan, Pakistan, but you see it. And we would watch then for the next 7 days on this. So if you live in Iran, I don't know anybody who lives in Iran directly. I don't even know if I have a viewership over there, but if I do, let them know. You have a magnitude larger earthquake possibly coming. That puts us up into the 6 range. If it's going to be a magnitude bigger, or up to a magnitude bigger, the highest we would go would be like 6.5 to 6.6. But let's just put it at 6.5, highest potential 6.5. I hope I got that right. That would be on the north side up here in Iran. On the west side, I would look for something similar in size. So we would expect the plate boundary in Iran to get hit. Right here, the red line. Over to the west, I would expect 5.6, something very similar in size, about the same size, to strike up here next to Egypt, which is very rare. Hey, hold on. We already got an earthquake over here in Israel. Syria. When did this strike? 1347 UTC. Okay, what time is it now, UTC? 2018. Okay, wow. So in the past 7 hours, we got a rare earthquake right over here at the Israel-Syria border region with Lebanon. Let me put the coordinates in over on Google Earth, and we'll go take a look and see what's there. This is always interesting, guys, whenever we get a rare earthquake here in the Mideast. What is there? I think I know what's there, but let's just take a quick look. Yeah. All right, I'm going to turn off our gallery just because that's going to populate the area. All right, there's Damascus. You guys know the area? Do you guys know that it's all volcanic? Did you know that this is all lava flow here? Here, let me back it out and show you how big the Middle East is covered in lava. All of this, going down to the sand covered here, and then it picks back up down here. These are all lava flows. So, to put it in size perspective, here's Israel, and here's the lava flows. So, the earthquake is on the north side of this, the Harat Ash-Shama, which the lava flows on here are just so impressive. Look at those calderas. Look at those craters. And the older ones go up to the north. Look at the lines of volcanoes that make this up. Just so you, I mean, again, I could get a side profile on these, but I shouldn't need to. These are all lines of volcanoes. And they go out into the desert and up to the north and meet up right into here. I think that's not one. That's a watershed. Here we go. Here's the nearest cone. Yes, that is a volcano. Ancient. So, why is there a volcano there? Well, let's get back to the red-lined map again, which we've referenced so many times. Look, it goes right up through Israel and then goes through Lebanon and Syria. On the east side, this is all where the lava flows are. Now, the Dead Sea, you guys may have heard of the Dead Sea before, is the lowest point on land on the planet. It's far below sea level. And why, though? Why is it far below sea level? Well, the folds here's the Dead Sea. The folds in the bend of the plate have allowed for a depression to form all the way along here. All of these are low. And it comes up and connects into South Europe through the Mediterranean. And that's where the earthquakes go. Okay, so recapping. Iran should get hit, and the Red Sea should get hit. And it should be somewhere right here at the mouth of the Red Sea. Should be somewhere right here central to South Iran next several days. Then we watch between Crete and Cyprus, where all the rings overlap. So there's a new 6 incoming here, or an upper 5. Again, if we're dealing with potential 6.5 in Iran, let's just take it a half magnitude lower by the time it reaches over to South Turkey. Why would we warn right there? Look, there's the red line. It's like a flowing river, guys. So again, if we're going to be dropping a bunch of rain on our river, and the river forks and goes 2 ways but comes back together in Turkey, we would still expect somewhat of a flood to take place where they come back together. And that's right here in between the two. Cyprus to the east, Crete to the west, and the W-shaped bend in the plate here, pretty easy to remember, that's where the break should happen. It's also the halfway point where all the earthquakes are overlapping. Now you're also going to notice a 4.4 that struck right here over on western Greece, going over towards Italy, but not directly at. Do you see where all the rings overlap here between 4 sets of earthquakes? We have central Italy here, Norcia. We go over across the Adriatic Sea and we go over into Slovakia, Croatia, down to Montenegro and Bosnia. Well, I'm going to warn right here in the middle of the whole mess. That's Bosnia. So we'll warn Bosnia to Croatia, and the magnitude on that should be in the 5 range. You're going to go back up to 5s. If you're going to see a 6, down between Crete and Cyprus, shave off 1 magnitude and go up into Central Europe, because this is going to flow and go right into the plate. Then it's going to try to go around the plate. So first it'll strike in between where all these earthquakes are, then it'll go around the outside edge, and we should see by the end of this coming week, Poland get hit by a new 4. So 5 in Central Europe, 4 in Northeast Europe, 6 in South Europe. Or another way to look at it, 6, 5, 4 going across the plate. Spain. I don't speak Spanish. I do know the word is terremoto for earthquake. We have to warn the people in Spain going right down here next to the Rock of Gibraltar, the Strait of Gibraltar. We have to incorporate in Portugal, South Spain, Gibraltar, Morocco. Morocco's on the south side here. But I would look right here on the south side of Spain, and the magnitude should also be in the upper 4 level near 5. If the Adriatic Sea is going to get hit over to the east with a 5, and we're seeing a 6 down here, and we're seeing a 4 up here, at least something similar should be coming out and going out to the middle of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Let me show you why. Back to the USGS map. Going to get something like a 5 here, something like a 6 down here, something like a 4 up here, and something like an upper 4 down here where the red line comes out and goes over to the west and dead ends to the Azores, which already got hit once with a 5 in the past day. Now, where did that come from? That 5? That came from the 5 that hit several days ago over here. You guys remember here? Let me see if it's still on the feed. There it is, marked in red. There we go. So we got a 5 here at the start of the week. We got a 5 here yesterday. What goes in comes out of the system. Up to the north, we got a 4.9. But you see it, okay? You see which way the energy flows. 5 here, 5's out there. It happens every week this way for the last 10 years that I've been observing. Let's go across over into Central and South America really quick before we get into the United States. By the way, if you're from the U.S., you wonder why I get into the U.S. last? It's not just to keep you on here, guys. This is the way the energy flows. It starts where the deep earthquakes are. It goes up to Japan. It starts where the deep earthquakes are. It goes over to Europe. It starts where the deep earthquakes are, and it goes over to South and Central America, and then the final path goes up, around, over, and back down into the United States. And we see a magnitude less than the rest of the planet because of that area that has to be traversed by this flow. Let me show you on the greater map here. Starts all over here in the West Pacific with our deep earthquakes pretty much. Goes over to the west, beeline straight to Europe. Goes down to the south, over to the east, beeline straight to South America and New Zealand. Goes up to Japan pretty much beeline, but then by the time you get up here, it has to go over, around, and back down to this side of the plate. There's no direct push coming across laterally, diagonally across Hawaii, and the reason for that are all of these, the east and west facing fracture zones that get in the way, that transfer it over to the east. So it's very rare, or hardly ever at all, or never at all, that energy comes up and across this way diagonally because there's too many breaks in the plate that allow the flow to go over to the east. Think of these like additional channels for this flowing river to go into. Side chutes on a river that allow for the flooding to spread out before it makes a direct path across. Amazing, right? How did the professionals miss all this? I don't think they did. I think somebody found it and they buried it because it conflicts with everything they printed. That'll teach them to put it in print. Okay. Central America, really quick. The same thing we were talking about in South America, the same thing we were talking about in Japan. Equal spread of the same sized earthquakes, but it's all focused right in here, right where the volcanoes are erupting. 4.8, 4.8, like bookends. And in the middle, boom, Fuego is blowing. But what's right in the middle there? Hold on. Look. So hold up. 4.8 on one side, 4.8 on the other. Right in the middle, we got the eruptions. And then look, the path out over to the east goes over to where the other erupting volcano is. La Soufriere volcano over in the East Caribbean started erupting this past week. 20 to 35,000 foot high blasts. Rare. And a 4.5 right next to it to top it all off. Swarming in Puerto Rico. And look where all the rings overlap. They overlap just east of Puerto Rico. I'm going to warn right now. Just east of Puerto Rico, we should see something similar in size as to what's going on the rest of the plate. So if we're dealing with 5s and 6s going along the rest of the plate, I would warn over to the east. Something similar in size. So upper 5, low 6 is due in the Caribbean this week. And look what's out over to your east. 2 5s, right? But I already told you, this 5 came from Europe. This 5 came from Central Europe and went out and struck here. So where did this one come from? It came from over here, where we had all of our eruptions. Let's go back to the start of the week. There you go. We had incoming 5s at the start of the week, marked in red. And then out at the tail end, out here, we get our 5s. And the spacing is perfect, by the way. Again, one more time, going down and around the bend of the plate for that standing wave. But one way is coming from Europe, the other way is coming from South America. Compression points, guys. Isn't it amazing? It really is. It still blows my mind to see all that happen in a couple days' time. With geologic processes, you would think centuries, right? Or at least years. In this case, we're talking hours, days. The spread is fast, seismically speaking. Okay, let's get into the United States now. Okay, I already told you, we're the last to receive the energy. Usually takes a step down by the time it gets to us. All right? So before we get into the lower 48, we have to talk about Alaska. Let's go in and zoom in on Alaska. So the same principle applies. The spread, the equal spread of the same sized earthquakes, gets absorbed slightly as it goes around this harsh bend in the plate up here to the north, on the north side of the Pacific. Up here, Kamchatka. See how that makes a fold in the plate? The rest of the spots are pretty round and even once we get back down to Indonesia. That's the other stick spot. But they're somewhat smooth shaped. There's only a few real big kinks in the plate, and that's where all our hammering takes place. So we get up here, and once we get past this bend at Kamchatka, where the erupting volcanoes are, we take a step down from 5s to 4s, and then from 4s to 3s. And we go up into Alaska, and it's so hard to see. This is 48 hours worth of earthquakes. Look, the number of earthquakes in Alaska has just skyrocketed. We have, in the last 2 days, there's so many on the screen here, I can't even really show them to you, even when all the rings turn down. Let me turn off the rings. Maybe that'll help. Dang. Anybody who watches with me knows this is a definite, what we call, frequency increase. So the power behind these is all small. Look, 0s, 1s, 2s. But the number, think of this like a fast rolling snare drum. Really fast, like a professional drummer just sitting there rolling in as fast as they can. Now, we were at a point where like a 2-year-old was beating the drum. Just bop, bop, bop. But now here we are, and the stacks are just noticeable. They all go back to that 5. Over here, right next to Seisma Pochnoi, which is erupting, which is rare. We don't normally see many Aleutian Island chain eruptions, much at all. So an eruption, a frequency increase, and an area that's spread out across the whole landmass of Alaska. How much energy do you think it would take to displace all of Alaska plus an eruption in a day? I don't care if it's even 0s and 1s. It's a lot of energy coming in. This means, up here on the north side of the Pacific, we could be looking at our second large earthquake of the week. So this goes out to the end of the week, but I have to issue the warning now. Look, if we're going to be seeing a 7 down here, we've already seen spreads of 6.5s go around the plate, or at least start to. And up here,
we're seeing this now frequency increase. It means power is coming in. It flows in. Now, again, we've taken a step down as we flowed in, but the number has gone up, which leads me to think incoming power, which leads me to think 6.5 plus earthquake is coming in up here in the Aleutian Island chain by the end of this week. So where do we watch? We watch between Seismopochnoy and all the big activity over on the mainland. So Seismopochnoy is in the western Aleutians. All the big activity is jumping like a ramp going up into the North American Craton, by the way, up into Mount McKinley or Mount Denali. I would watch halfway between them. That puts us right next to Mount Bogoslav. Next to Mount Bogoslav, out here at the tip of the mainland, this is actually a peninsula that comes out. First island, I think, is right there. So we watch right there, and we watch for 6.5. Why do I look for 6.5? That's the magnitudes going around the plate right now. The 7 should strike right next to the deep earthquake, but up north, you can see it. Okay? Lower 48 coming in a second. Hawaii. Hawaii, guys. Aloha. Good to see you here. Let's show you what's going on. This is the last day and a half's worth of earthquakes, almost 2 days. And what you should see is a cluster down along the southern coast of the Big Island next to Pahala. 3 earthquakes going across the Middle East Rift Zone out into the ocean, southeast of Pu'u'o'o. And then over to the west, we have an outbreak or a cluster on the side or flank or top of Mauna Loa. Further to the west, we have a 1.9 next to Hualalai volcanic field. And then further all the way out in the ocean, we're at the Laird Seamount. L-A-I-R-D, Laird. Guess we have some Scots out there. The Scottish Hawaiians, you know. Okay. Let's go take a look up here. We'll start here in the middle of it all. And that brown splotch is Mauna Loa. It's the biggest shield volcano on the planet. Now, we're not worried about any eruption right now, knock on wood. I'm worried about new seismic developments between all the earthquake activity. And I think we're going to go up into the 4 range in Hawaii this week. Maybe even bigger, but right now the signs are showing that something's pushing on the underside, and it's spreading up to Mauna Loa. Let me get a side angle view on the Big Island. There we go. Okay, so Big Island of Hawaii, this is Mauna Loa, the biggest shield volcano on the surface of the planet. We go down in the ocean, there's some bigger ones, but surface of the planet, this is the biggest. Now, on the bottom flank is Kilauea that had its big crater collapse. You guys remember that? That all happened over the past couple of years. This imagery shows the old lake. Well, not old. It formed over the past year and a half a lake inside of there, but that's all gone. That blew out and filled with actual lava. Now, since it blew out, we've seen a series of earthquakes spread up here on the back side of Mauna Loa. Additionally, going over here towards Mauna Kea, and like I said, Hualalai, which most people don't even know about, or at least people that are tourists don't know about. You live there, you probably know about it, but Hualalai, the ancient volcanic field on the northwest tip of the Big Island. So what's causing it all? The rising Middle East Rift Zone, believe it or not, which is down below Mauna Loa. Again, here's Mauna Loa, here's Kilauea, and this is the Middle East Rift Zone, with the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park pretty much right in the middle of it all. Pu'u'o'o is right over here, and Kilauea with its collapsed crater and filling lava lake on the foot of Mauna Loa. So if we start seeing Mauna Loa move, and we start seeing Mauna Kea move, and we start seeing Hualalai move, and we start seeing the area down to the southwest, what's down at Pahala? Well, the earthquakes are coming in right along the coast, aren't they? But really, the spot between Loihi, out here in the ocean, this is a rising seamount about 3,000 feet below the surface of the ocean. Someday this will rise above ocean level, but we're between the two. We're on the side where Loihi's magma chamber meets with Mauna Loa's, meets with the western side of the Middle East Rift Zone. It's where they all three come together, at Pahala. My guess on that, by the way, I don't have some kind of underground VLF measurements of any kind. No, it's just that's where they all physically look like they meet on the surface because that's the triangulation point between all three. So if this thing is pushing up on the underside, you start getting movement up above it on the side of Mauna Loa. You start getting movement on the side of it over here at Loihi. You start getting movement all the way over here next to Mauna Kea. What about over at the Laird Knoll? Laird Knoll. All these underground undersea volcanoes, seamounts. You see how many cones there are that make this up. And on the side of the Lair Seamount is the Palmer Seamount, and these have the more, I guess, well-mapped volcanoes here. So you can see the conical tip on that. On the lesser imaged versions, they look a little smooth, but someday they'll get back in and image all that. All of these are under seamounts out here. Volcanic. So that's where the earthquakes are. So really, if you look at it this way, we've got a line of quakes that goes all the way across over here to Walalai, out here to Laird, back down around to Pohala. The southern half of the Big Island. But it's all tied to this right here on the southeast side of Mauna Loa. Is Mauna Loa going to erupt? Well, those are famous last words. If I say no and it does, I don't think it is. It's not likely. I would look back to the middle of this all for a new earthquake to break out. Right in the middle, in between all of this. So how do we find the middle point between this? This one's the one that throws us off out in the Laird Seamount. But if we just go between all of these, look, that middle point brings us right down into where Kilauea is, on the southeast side of Mauna Loa. So how big are we going to go? Well, let's get back and look at Google Earth now. Let's go look. Actually, hold on. Let's go look at Earthquake 3D. It's going to go as big as what we're going up here to the north. Now, all the way up here to the north, we got a 4.2 and a 5, and an eruption at Seismopochnoi, where the rings overlap. Now, following that, look, stemming out of that, an under seamount chain comes down, goes over to the east, and you'd think it just goes out to Hawaii, right? The Hawaiian Island chain. No. The Hawaiian Island chain just branches off of that and goes out into these fracture zones, kind of nestled out there in the middle of it. But you'll see. Here's Tamu Massif, the largest volcano on the planet, I think. Undersea mount, of course, but undersea volcano. It's huge. You see there's a line of undersea mount volcanoes that branches down to the south, doesn't it? Off of this. So it starts up here at Kamchatka, goes down, Hawaii branches out, but then going down and around like a letter C or crescent shape. It goes down and connects into South America, Peru, where we have a new eruption right where it dead ends into, at Sabancaya volcano. And look where the rings overlap. And look what magnitude we're dealing with. Upper 4s to near 5. So here, upper 4s to near 5, at the tail end of the crescent C shape, we follow it back up to Hawaii, and we go back up here, and we have upper 4s and 5s and an eruption up to the north. So those are like bookends, but the distance across is the whole planet. Hawaii's nestled out in the middle. I would think we would see something between the size to the north and the size all the way down in Peru come out into the middle. And that means Hawaii's getting ready to go back up into the 4 near 5 level. I would think at the upper 4 level, somewhere in that 4-ish range, in between all of this. And, you know, they'll either ignore it or they'll tell you that it's related to the volcano, which it is. It's related to the reinflating of the magma chamber. And we know it's reinflating because the lava lake's still going in Kilauea. Still rising slightly, or at least leveling off, and still filling and then cooling and filling and cooling. United States, lower 48, here we go, let's get into it. Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. Look at all the earthquake activity in the last 48 hours. Every single one of these, except for the earthquake up in North Kansas, is at a drill point. All of West Texas, all of Oklahoma, all of Southeast Texas, all drilled. Tens of thousands of times, too. So, again, you shouldn't need me to prove this to you, but I'll show the new people. We're going to White City, New Mexico? No. We are in Texas. Look where the earthquake is. It's marked with a star on the map. This is the Texas border here. We're certainly in Texas. Why are they not triangulating it from Texas? There certainly are towns there. I would say they want you to think it's in New Mexico. So if you go look at the feed, you think it's in New Mexico, you wouldn't ask any questions. Because of what's here. Do you see what's here on the ground? Let me zoom in and show you a little bit closer. Do you see the pads that are on the ground? Now some of them have wells at them, others of them are left blank. Now these are ponds that they will let fill with rainwater. It's pretty dry down there, so they don't have anything in there now, but there's our tanks, our pumps, our jacks, our pipelines. Fracking. Doing some fracking in here. All of this is drilled. And there's tens of thousands of drill points. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you tens of thousands. That's actually low. I would even say more like hundreds of thousands of drill points when you start to take in this many. Look how many there are. Every one an oil or a gas well. And look how many it goes out to. Whole Texas counties down that way. Those aren't houses. These are all oil wells. And I'm not exaggerating. Whole counties down that way, and some of them go into what I call extreme crazy overkill. Here's what a town looks like. There's the town. There's the oil wells around it. And let's just go county to county to county here in Texas. Do you see them? All the white specks? We're just jumping county to county. Those are hot spots, flare-offs from the wells. Yeah, we got ourselves a lot of drilling going on down there. And we got a bunch of earthquakes around where they drill. But that is really just on the edge of the North American craton. The weak point between the purple and the rusty brownish color. Now, a flow takes place across the edge of the craton. This is one of my biggest discoveries over the last 10 years. Finding that there's a flow going from the west coast over to the east coast, and it's following that purple versus brownish color in between them. Path of least resistance, the flow like a river again. Why does that matter so much? Professionals said there was no flow at all. They said there was no relation between any sets of earthquakes. And once we started to document it, 10 years now of documenting, sent it to them, and they freaked out on me. Tried to get me shut down. They came after my fundraiser. Professors! They came after my fundraiser. They came after me. Oh yeah, man, it was bad. So why did they try to stop it so much? Well, they said that it couldn't happen. They put it in writing, put their names on it, signed on it, and all that other stuff. One lone earthquake over here just south of where I am. I'm on the New Madrid seismic zone right here. We just had an earthquake this week here 20 miles from my house. Amazing. But there it is. Here, let me get that on the screen here. Oh, hold on. Got a little sneeze coming. Woo, that'll clear you out. Okay, wonderful. That was professional. It'll wake you up. I should have left it on. It'll wake everybody up. Wake up, everybody. You in the back. I'll call your parents. 2.4 earthquake striking in Eureka, Missouri. Again, 20 miles from my location. And it's right next to a series of power lines. Now, the power lines play in with electrical discharge that goes up out of the plate, comes up out of the plate, and goes down into the plate. So that's something interesting. Recapping, oil wells. Oil all the way across Texas and in Oklahoma. The only one that I couldn't find anything on when I looked it up earlier today was up at Downs, Kansas. But you know what? I might not have looked well enough. Let me just show you what's there. It's a 3.0 earthquake. It's more rare. Kansas has opened up for drill point. Oh, wait. We got a bunch of hot spots across Kansas. We have a previous earthquake up here from 2016. What is going on up here? A little quarry. They're doing some quarrying there. I wonder if there's anything else here nearby. Usually where they're doing quarrying, there might be something else in the ground that's valuable. But quarrying, is this listed as a quarry blast and I'm just missing it? No, it's listed as a 5-kilometer depth. Man, that bothers the heck out of me now. Now I really want to know what's going on there. See a quarry there. They're not listing it as a quarry blast. Maybe there's oil and gas here. Kansas, like I said, has opened up for oil and gas in the past few years. Let me show you one county to the south what they look like. It's so hard to find. Look how small that is in the field, right? So finding them, doing them, first of all, the drill points are going to be intermittently spaced. They could be right next to here and I could just be missing it. That's what bothers me. So I would lean towards drill point, even though they do have a quarry there, since the USGS is listing it at a 5-kilometer depth. They can drill down by several kilometers. This imagery dates several years old too, so it's not really going to help us if there's new drilling going on out there in the last year. It's the only one that's not, and it's just north of another frac well. Come on. It's a guess. I hate having to guess, but it's a guess. I would think drilling. Now let's go over to the west. Go all the way up into the Pacific Northwest, actually. Let's go up into Washington and Oregon, where we have a spattering of quakes along the coast, one over here at the Idaho border, a cluster in Idaho, and a diagonal line of them going down into Yellowstone National Park, coming out of Montana. So to see this is 48 hours worth of earthquakes. This is matching with the edge of the Craton in the northwest. Out of Montana down into Yellowstone, come on. Look at it. Perfect match. The Quakes versus the Craton edge. Goes down into Yellowstone, where clearly there's a supervolcano at the location. But what about the cluster going up to near 3.0 in Idaho? That is above the deepest part of the magma chamber, if I explained 1,000 times in my previous updates. Yellowstone's magma chamber comes up to the surface at the Wyoming border. But it's 11 Grand Canyons in total size. It goes down at an angle 30 or more kilometers down below Idaho and dead ends pretty much into the feeder down below Oregon. Comes up at an angle from below this whole state. So these earthquakes in Idaho are really above the magma chamber for Yellowstone, the center of it. Again, if the top starts over here and goes down and then goes over to Oregon, where it's fed from below here, then this is the halfway point up above it where the breaking is taking place, a recharging of Yellowstone. But it doesn't mean this has been going on for years. It goes in waves where it goes up and down. We'll see even 5.0 to 7.0 range earthquakes just west of Yellowstone going back to the 1950s. So Hebgen Lake, I don't know, Hebgen Lake, 7.5 earthquake striking here in the 1950s. 5.0 range activity striking in the last few years, over here above the magma chamber for Yellowstone. No eruptions happened, just a sign of incoming pressure as the magma chamber flexes. Speaking of flexing and bending and moving, that creates what are called tremors. Not to be confused with earthquakes. However, they assign magnitudes to tremors. But tremors are more vibrations as something's moving. So we get a tremor swarm, for instance, that happens daily at Yellowstone. Hundreds of tremors as the magma is moving down below. But the earthquakes are cracks in the plate, in the faults. So that's the difference, right? So you get a magnitude with a tremor, it's a vibration. You get a magnitude with an earthquake, it's a break. So let's go over where we're vibrating along the coast. We're vibrating at Yellowstone. You don't see them here. You don't see the tremors reported here. You have to go check the Yellowstone charts, I guess. But we can see the tremors over here along the coast when they're recording them. We can go look at the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network website, handy website that we use to check the tremors. You'll see there's 333 tremors as of yesterday, the 23rd, listed all the way across Oregon, for instance. Starting next to Portland, going down across central Oregon, ending down next to Medford. The whole state of Oregon shifted in a day's time. Look at the magnitudes assigned to these tremors. Zeros, ones. So it's small vibrations, but a lot of them, 333. Let's go back a day to the 22nd, 481. But where are they? They're in Oregon again. Let's go back to the 21st. Oregon again, 328. Let's just go back several days. Let's go back to like the 17th. Boom. On the 17th, we were moving in Washington, in the Puget Sound and the Olympic Peninsula. Then we go down to Salem, and we're moving in northwest Oregon. We're moving in southwest Oregon and a little shimmying down in California. Now we're going to bring it back forward. Move forward a day, what happens? It focuses in on Oregon and northern California. To the 19th, stays focused in Oregon and starts to pick up in the number, 521. Go to the 20th, we level off at 380, but we're again still mainly in Oregon. Spread out slightly down to the northern part of the valley of Sacramento Valley. 21st, focuses back in on Oregon, 328. 22nd, back in on Oregon, spreads out across the whole state, but still along the coast. 481. And we get to yesterday. There's 333. I would say Oregon shifting. Wouldn't you? If you get that many vibrations, but where? Let's go in and show you on the USGS plate boundary map. Here, all of this is shifting. But why? Out in the ocean, did you see those jagged edges out in the ocean? This is the Juan de Fuca fracture zone, pointing in like arrows into the spots which are shifting. Remember, we were shifting up here in the Puget Sound. We go right out here to the west, and we meet up perfectly with these three arrow points, and these jagged edges belong to the Pacific plate. So the Pacific plate is carrying all that energy across, remember? Goes up into Alaska? Well, it comes in here to the jagged edges and it gets transferred into North America, where something amazing happens. A transfer goes into the plate at an angle coming up into the plate. Let me turn off every little place mark and every border and label. Get a side view on the west coast of the U.S. There we are. Now bringing it in down this way, you'll see. Here's the jagged edges of the Juan de Fuca fracture zone. And here is Oregon. Or maybe I should turn the borders and labels back on. There's Oregon. Okay, so all of this is shifting. We shifted up in the Puget Sound, and we shifted a little bit down here in the Northern Valley. Well, geez, look at that. The northern arrow of the Juan de Fuca pointing into the spot that's shifting up to the north. The central arrow of the Juan de Fuca pointing into, or corresponding to, Central Oregon. The southern point of the Juan de Fuca pointing into South Oregon, and the southern arm of the Juan de Fuca going down into California, corresponding with the spot that's shifting in California. It's a perfect match. So these jagged edges are down below. This is down below this. This points up into North America. That's why we're looking at it at a side angle so you can get a kind of a better perspective of what I'm talking about here. That this is down below this, and this pushes up into this and starts to vibrate. But energy doesn't just stay put in one spot, guys. When this pushes in and starts to shift on land, when the Juan de Fuca fracture zone out in here pushes into Oregon, it then transfers over to Idaho, Yellowstone, down through California, following the edge of the craton, trying to escape out from the west coast. The energy transfers across the plate, basically put. So let's go look in and see what's going on. Now, hey, by the way, somebody 3 in the morning, I just happened to be lurking in chat. I don't even know who did post a link, but thank you. Somebody posted a link up in here to a huge fire that started to take place down in Nevada. Now, again, it's not in Oregon or Washington. Why does that matter? Well, we were looking at a bunch of hot spots in my update last night. For those of you who are new viewers, there's volcanic hotspots where eruptions happen, magma chambers and so forth. There's what we call hotspots that are really picked up heat signatures from the weather satellite system that filters out the hotspots because it doesn't know what to make of them. Heat signatures coming in. And for instance, this right here, see all these little orange dots? These were red last night. Pyramid Lake is the location right here. And huge fires have broken out all the way around here. This is not fire season, by the way. Huge fires have broken out around here. And right in the middle, we have our geothermal features on the side of the needles over here. The boiling pits that are in here. Now, these are what are called tufa deposits. That's calcium carbonate. And calcium carbonate forms from geothermal features. So you get calcium carbonate features at Yellowstone. You get calcium carbonate features at all these volcanic locations. Even at Fly Geyser, where they accidentally drilled into a geothermal field. It came out and formed this giant deposit of calcium carbonate. These old tufa, whatever you want to call them, tufa deposits, here are a sign of the geothermal field that's right there. Now we have a new hotspot down here next to Lake Tahoe, down to the south. The computer is filtering it out, says it's not a fire. But this is right on the south side of Lake Tahoe. And we've got Steamboat Springs Volcanic Field also nestled out in here. So I don't know if we're going to see that. There we are. Here's Steamboat Springs. And all of it's geothermal. But the fire's there. Come on, Pyramid Lake fire all of a sudden? Hotspots first, then fires later? The computer filtered it out, guys. Said it wasn't a fire. So first it started with those hotspots a day and a half ago, and then we all of a sudden get this huge fire all the way around Pyramid Lake. That's, again, right down here. We'll get into that in a second, but let's go look up the rest of the earthquakes. Let's go look up at the Washington border, see what's going on. Oh, hold on. Got ourselves an explosion up here in Washington. A place called Bickleton. 1.7 explosion. I don't know, man. We don't have any explosions across the rest of the country. What's going on there? Let's go see. Washington, Oregon border. We start getting a bunch of explosions up here when the plate's shifting. I start to worry. Oh, okay. Wait. Blowing up the wind farm. Boom. No, we got a quarry there. Okay. I've got to check. Definitely have to check. Because look, I mean, look how close we are to all these volcanoes over on the western side. But if we have a quarry there, of course, I will lean it towards the quarry. Glad we checked. Let's go up and look at the 1.5. Another explosion. What are you guys doing up there, man? Dang, is today explosion day? Ah, I knew it. International Explosion Day. Oh, wait, it's only in Washington? Washington, Oregon? It's only when the plate's shifting? We go months without seeing any explosions, and the plate starts to shift, and all of a sudden a bunch of explosions get reported. Now, look, I'm going to have to worry about this one if we got an explosion there. I really am. Let's go do a street level. What blew up? What is this place? Yogi's? It's a grocery store. It's a dang grocery store, man. Are you kidding me? Oh, wait. I know what blew up. Hold on. Do I have a zoom on this? Look what's parked at the front door. Look what's parked at the front door in the Google Drive-By image. Of course. Genius. Of course. The AmeriGas truck exploded. Propane. Never mind all the earthquakes and the plate shifting. And professionals certainly would never hide anything from us. They would always tell us the truth and always look into things, wouldn't they? Yes, this would be on the news if it was like, why isn't this on the nightly news? Oh, wait. They only report on things after somebody gets hurt? Ah. Okay. All right, let's go put the coordinates in. Go see what's there. We're going away from the AmeriGas. Irresponsible propane handling. We're going right below the crater of Mount Rainier. If they listed this one as an explosion, people would get a little suspicious. So all of a sudden, we're back to calling them earthquakes, aren't we? We're on the crater of Mount Rainier. Don't worry, it's not going to erupt. It's just a sign of incoming pressure. Like I told you, the plate is shifting. Pretty obvious. What about down in Oregon? What's going on down there? Boom! Another explosion, but this one's in Mount Hood. Uh-oh. I don't think blowing stuff up around Mount Hood is ever a good idea. I don't think blowing anything's up a good idea. But let's go see what's there. Could be a quarry. Explosion. Why are they listening to his quarry blast, though? Nope. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, that's a quarry, but that's small. Quarry on the side of Mount Hood. Get an explosion. Rhododendron. Guess that's what grows there. What about down to the south? Another explosion. We have nothing to worry about here at all, guys. You know, explosion, 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 all the way across the northwest when the plate shifting. But nowhere else in the entire country. Gonna have to say, that's a little odd. Hey, here we are, backwoods. Must be Bubba out there doing tannerite explosions. You guys hear about the guy who did the baby reveal party? Did you hear about that? Baby reveal party, 70 tons of tannerite or something to cause an earthquake? Hey, baby reveal party earthquake. See if that comes up. Yeah, this is a day ago. Gender reveal party using 80 pounds of explosives. Rattles New England town in New Hampshire. Now guess what? We had an earthquake in New Hampshire. They tried to pass it off as a baby reveal party. That's the level we're at with the professionals. By the way, New Hampshire's on the edge of the craton. New Hampshire moved in relation to the rest of the plate, which moved. And they called it a baby reveal party because they're jokers. They're jokers. It's a joke at this point. That's why I'm here. To set them straight. And man, they don't like it. Oh, man, they don't like it. Dude, they freak. They freak when you contradict them. But they're wrong. So it wasn't a baby explosion. It wasn't a gender reveal party. That's a scam. Whoever put that's out a fraud. Now let's go down across California's coast. We need to look at the last 24 hours worth of earthquakes at this point. So let's look at the last day's worth of 0.0 and greater. And look in the state of California only. There we are. So even a person who's never seen this before should be able to see. We have a line of earthquakes starting up here where the shifting was taking place that I was just telling you about with all the little red dots. And a line of quakes goes down along the coast and goes over into the valley. You see that? Then it goes down to the south tip of the valley. So what is at all of this up here to the north? This is a volcano where the swarm is happening at a place called Geyserville or Clear Lake Volcano. The geysers of California. The name speaks for itself. So here we are. We're again talking about the geysers of California. Drill point into the volcano. Drilling into the volcano to get steam to turn the turbines. There we go. There's the turbine set, one of them. They're all over the hillsides here. Here's another one. Electrical generation on the side of Clear Lake Volcanic Field. Something else happened over here yesterday. Hotspots all the way across Geyserville. I guess that was another fire, right? Oh, wait, the computer filtered them out, said it didn't know what to do with them? Weather satellite picking up hotspots all the way along the coast. I guess this was all burning yesterday. Got put it out last night. You know, no biggie. 100 square miles of burning area last night. Gone today. Oh, wait. Look at this line. Do you see that? I'm going to have to call it out for what it is. The plate is shifting. It's releasing heat, which is creating these hotspots, which is then being picked up by the weather satellite, which is then filtering it out because it doesn't know what to make of it, and it's picking it up at spots where the plate's shifting and spots where there are volcanoes. If it's hot enough, fires break out, like what happened over here around Pyramid Lake. And again, oh, by the way, I didn't show you. This right here is most likely the remnant of an ancient supervolcano. It's lined with hotspots. It's lined with its own volcanoes. It gets hit with earthquakes around the outside edge. We have geothermal on the north side, geothermal on the south side. And it's twice as big as the other confirmed supervolcano down to the south, down at the California-Nevada border. So up here, giant oval shape between Lake Tahoe and Pyramid Lake. And look, we got an earthquake. Hey, hold on. Hey, hold on. We've got an earthquake right in the middle of the center of the crater of what I consider to be this supervolcano. Professionals have not found out about this yet unless they watch my videos. Yes, they don't say this is a supervolcano. They say it's just by chance, whatever, nobody noticed it. Let me show you the confirmed one down to the south. Same size and shape, but it's just a little smaller. This one. This is Long Valley Caldera. It's, again, 1,000 cubic kilometers of melt down below. The one they somehow missed up on the north side, that's the one getting hit with earthquakes and hotspots. And fires. Again, this is all confirmed fire around Pyramid Lake. Huge. Now look out here in the desert. Hotspot next to the geothermal pumping operations. Out here in the desert, that's solar farm on one side. Geothermal on the other. And a hotspot right there. Release of heat up out of the plate. Another one down south of Lake Tahoe. Hey, hold on. We have a hotspot on Mono Lake. On the shores of Mono Lake. Volcanic field. On the shores of Mono Lake. Hotspot. Computer's filtering it out. Doesn't know what to make of it. 3 of them. 3 detections of hotspots. There's heat being released from this volcanic field right now, today, in the past few hours. Confirmed. Computer filters it out. Doesn't know what to do. We have them down in Southern California along the valley. All these little red dots that I'm pointing out here are the confirmed hotspots by the satellite today. So remember where those are because we start up here at Clear Lake and we go down along the coast and look where we go into. We go into the valley. We jump off the San Andreas and we go over into the valley, then down to the south tip of the valley. What's in the valley? Why are we jumping off the San Andreas? Why aren't we just going right down the San Andreas and carrying on into LA? I'll show you why. We're being diverted. This is the San Andreas. You can see it in the mountain ranges. Let me hit search. This is where the earthquakes are jumping over to. Do you see that? Do you see what I have marked here? It says oil well. We have oil and gas out here, and lots of it. Tens of thousands of drill points start right here. They look like ants on the ground. Right next to the San Andreas, all of this. And Here's San Andreas. This is where the drill points start. That's where our earthquakes go down too. And then the drill points go all the way down the valley, following the San Andreas right up to it. Down here, where tens of thousands of more drill points are. And that is right next to where the other earthquake comes out, down at the south tip of the valley, where the Garlock meets in with the San Andreas. Let me show you the Garlock and San Andreas. It'll all make sense in like 2 seconds here. This is the Garlock. This is the San Andreas. And they drilled, starting up here, going down to here. And the earthquakes come down, jump over to the drill points, and then pick back up where the drill points kind of putter out down here on the south side. It's like a flowing river. A perforation. Anybody ever work with stone or drywall or tile or any kind of solid material? Have you ever perforated anything and then tried to apply pressure to it? You know what happens. The perforation point is the weak point. And that leads to a break along the perforation. It's why we perforate cardboard boxes. Multi-layer thick cardboard boxes. Same principle. But this is in the plate. This is miles thick. But the same principle applies. It's another one of my biggest discoveries, that there's a flow that goes down across the plate and drops off earthquakes at the weak points. Volcanoes, geothermal, oil and gas, and Mother Nature fault break points. But if humans come in and start drilling, those are perforation points that go down kilometers into the crust. And Mother Nature will seek out those drill points. Now, what about over here in Eastern California? Let's start back up to the north. So let's recap. We started with Clear Lake Volcano. We went down along the creeping section of the San Andreas and jumped over into drill points. And then went down 2 drill points. So what's going on over here? Take a look. Almanor, California. Lake Almanor, which is on the foot of Mount Lassen. Mount Lassen's a well-known stratovolcano in Northern California. It erupted 100 years ago. There we go. Big blast 100 years ago. Hey, look, we're right next to where all the other hotspots are. Hey, I guess that's a coincidence. All these little orange dots over here from yesterday. Maidu, you guys may remember this. 3 years ago, a series of earthquakes struck around Maidu, going up to Inskip Hill on the western side, right over to here. And following that, a series of fires broke out. And first hotspots detected by the satellite. Then fires. You remember that. Now here we are again. We got the earthquakes, the hotspots, and the fires. Cannot ignore the big fires right over here next to this, where the earthquakes are. That's where we start. The foot of Mount Lassen to top it all off. Here, let me show you Mount Lassen. I mentioned Mount Lassen, but here is Mount Lassen, the greater stratovolcano. So if I see an earthquake on the side of a stratovolcano, even if it's at the lake, and we have hotspots next to it, I associated the earthquake with that, with the volcano. Already showed you this one over here in the middle of the caldera. Then we go down to the California-Nevada border, and I'll just pull the ones right in the middle. Actually, let's pull the biggest earthquake, which is right in the middle. It's a 2.7. Quailey's Camp, Nevada. Negative 1.5 kilometer depth. You might wonder, how can we have an earthquake negative 1.5 km? It's actually up above sea level, guys. We're up inside of a mountain. It's not up in the sky. Oh, wait. Hey, look. Hold on. I forgot. Okay. The largest earthquake of the day at the California-Nevada border is right next to where the hotspot is. Here's the hotspot. Detected by the satellite. 3 of them. Filtering out. Saying it's not a fire. On the side of the lake. The volcanic lake. And here, let me click on the volcanic lake so you can see what it looks like there. Look at it. It's desert-like with... Oh, my goodness. It's not every day we get hotspots out here at Mono Lake, guys. So that's where the biggest quake is of the day. Right in the middle. And then going all the way around it like a giant ring. Remember what I told you about Hawaii? How the Middle East rift zone in the middle is rising and the earthquakes are going all the way around the outside edge. Well, you could just say the same thing for this. In the middle, right here, this is the supervolcano. And the earthquakes are going all the way around the outside edge of it, spreading out miles over into Nevada. Now, there's an open area across all of Owens Valley. That's this little sliver right here. We can see it on Google Earth a little bit better. So here's Owens Valley, and look, hey, hold on. We have a hotspot out in the desert, multiples. Look at that. out in the desert Arroyo, which is really just like a flowing area where water flows to. Look at that computer filtering it out. It says it doesn't know what to make of it. Yeah, of course it doesn't. It's directly in the middle, in between our two sets of quakes. Once we get down to the south, we have another diagonal line. That diagonal line goes northwest to southeast. Let me show you why. Down here. Starting right in the middle of this, Kozo Volcanic Field. And you guys can pause it and read the information if you need to, but it's been a minute since we've talked about it. Here are the geothermal pumping operations at Kozo. And that's where the earthquakes start, right here. Oh, wait, right here, marked in blue. Then we jump over the rest of the volcanic field, and we get into a place called Volcano Peak. Such creative names. So we jump right over the volcanic field, and we pick back up with quakes right here. These are all lava flows, and these are all cones, spatter cones. Look how many there are. Look at the lava flows. They go down into China Lake, out into the desert. That's where the earthquakes go down to, and the earthquakes go down and dead end into the Garlock Fault. Back to the Garlock. The earthquakes come down and dead end in the Garlock, which is going east and west, isn't it? Or northeast and southwest. It connects back down into here, the San Andreas, and look, that's where the other earthquake is. 1.5. Hey! Whoa! Whoa! I just said 1.5, and a 1.5 appeared on the screen, a new earthquake. When did it hit? 2109. Oh no! In the last 6 minutes. Montebello! Okay, let's go over to Montebello, see what's going on. Check it out. Let's get her done. Get her done! Or as they say in Latin, adepto perfectus. That's my motto. My Latin motto and my coat of arms. Where are we? Oh, well. Just do the psh. Because that's where we are. Look, we're right on the side of a huge oil pumping operation. Lots of oil wells here. We're just like a mile or two away. I always look 6 to 10 miles. Because they can drill out in an angle by many miles. This is what? 4? I don't know. I'm just guessing. Let's go see. Whoops. 2. 2 miles away from the nearest drill point. And, man, there probably are others, like this golf course here. Or is this a cemetery? That's a cemetery. Well, they're probably not going to be drilling below the cemetery, but then again, I wouldn't put anything past them at this point. What about down here? Water. Okay, there's water. When you're looking, by the way, guys, if you see these tanks up on top of hills, out in California, they do the water up on top of hills. A lot of times. Like, kind of like a water tower, but it's just putting a tank up on top of a hill. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. But look at all our oil. So oil there, oil here, oil here, oil here, oil here. You can see the whole vein of oil where they're extracting from. We're right next to it. Cannot be a coincidence, man. Can't be a coincidence. Is there anything else there? Let's go see the earthquake stats. Hold on. 1 kilometer depth. That's really shallow. You know, they may, right here, there may have been old drill points down below this area. Wait, hold on. We also have the high voltage power lines right there. Dude, all right. So we've got the high voltage power lines, and these aren't the kind that just go to your house. These are the big kind that feed the whole city. We also have the railroad right there. The only thing missing at this point is a hotspot. Now, how do the power lines play in? I don't quite know yet. Still formulating my hypothesis on that. The rest of the earthquakes, wait a second. We got to go out here into the middle of the Mojave. This could be a quarry blast. No, it's not. Let's go out into the middle of Mojave, 27.9 kilometer depth. By the way, they can list earthquakes as quarry blasts. So when they listed all those as explosions up in the northwest, that to me is extremely odd. Look at this. Wow. Some kind of lake community out in the desert. What is the name of that place? Hellendale. Well, Hellendale is just south of the Iron Mountains, which clearly are as old volcanoes. It's very desert-like out here in the Mojave. I'm surprised they've got that there, but then again, they got a little river right next to it. Got a lot of power generation going on here, too. Solar. More electrical generation. We're right next to it. Look, there's some up right there. Cannot overlook the volcanoes and the electrical connection. If there's a weak point in the crust where magma has come up in the past, it could aid in electromagnetism also coming up through the crust. And then you got power lines there, and they're going down into the crust, electromagnetically speaking. The two could interact. I mean, it's not beyond the realm of sci-fi that they could interact. I mean, somebody would need to look into it and figure out how, but I don't know. It's just a postulate. Think about it. I'll look into it too. Somebody look into that. Diagonal line of quakes going down west of Salton Sea and dead ending into the Mexico border. What's west of Salton Sea? Let's go look together, shall we? Come along with me and learn something on a voyage of discovery. Here. The San Jacinto Fault and the Elsinore Faults. They're the thin red lines that branch off the thick red line, the San Andreas. And that thick red line is a crack in the plate, guys. A crack in the plate that goes all the way down through the plate. Hey, wait, we've got another earthquake reported out here. A 2.5 out at Avenal. Hey, look at that. Dang, that struck at 4:16 p.m. or 21:16. 3 minutes ago, this just hit at Avenal, California. Back at the drill points up here to the north. I gotta look it up, it just hit. Man, USGS is on their game today. They must be watching. They're like, put another one on there. See if he goes and looks it up. You can send fan mail to my P.O. box, USGS. Tell me the areas you want me to look up, USGS. Just write me, okay, man? I'll do it. There we are. Oil wells again, Avenal, California. Now, they did find something, by the way. USGS last year put out this conference that was a whole study or a research, like 20 years worth of research done by this lady who found out, and they've already measured this, that the whole area from up here next to Coalinga and Avenal and Kettleman City, going all the way down here to Bakersfield, this whole area and around down to the south is severely subsiding. And for the USGS to use the word severe is a big deal. Severely subsiding. In the last 40 years, it's sunk 30 feet. The whole area, the roads, the bridges, the farms, the mountains, everything, all going down like kind of like around Hawaii, settling out around a huge area. And they tried to blame it on water. Now, the problem I've got with that is up here we have all our oil wells, and look where they said it goes down to. It goes down to here. The subsiding. You see all the little black dots on the ground? Every little black dot is an oil well. Tens of thousands of drill points just at this one oil patch around Bakersfield. It goes up to the north to Halfway House. And it goes down to the south through the farm fields. The oil pumping operations go through the farm fields and carry on down to the south tip of the valley, down here, where they go around the south tip of the valley. Prove that. Again, I don't want people to think that just telling you the drill points go down. They come back around this way and connect back across the farm fields. You can see them. And go up and meet with our millions of drill points that are across here. And I'm not exaggerating when I say millions overall. This whole mountain range is done. This is what the mountain range used to look like. Gullies, valleys, little hilltops. This is what it looks like after they come in and scrape off every hilltop and put an oil well on it. Looks like a bunch of sand dunes almost. And they did the whole mountain range that way. That's just one little mountain range. Well, one big mountain range. But they went, like I said, all the way up, right up to the San Andreas, which is right here. This is right here. Okay, and that's the way the earthquakes flow. Now, we dead end all the way down here at Salton Sea. South of Salton Sea, at the Mexico border. Ocotillo. Acotillo. Ocohilo. Ocotillo? Man, again, I'm in the Midwest. Don't even try. Don't even try. Not even worth it. Put the dictionary down. Put it down. Put the pronunciation key down. Do not try. Here's our hotspots from yesterday. Hotspots from yesterday. Again, computer filtered them out. Didn't know what to make of them. But we would know what's down here at Ocotillo. The Ocotillo wells. All the geothermal drill points that they drilled into this volcanic center, starting up here where Salton Buttes volcano is, south tip of Salton Sea. There's a volcano called the Salton Buttes. They drilled it to get steam on the U.S. side of the border. And the drill points go down through Brawley for the magma chamber. And they go down into Mexico, right across the border, where there's another volcano called Cerro Prieto Volcano. It's got graffiti on the inside. Stone stack graffiti. Pretty cool looking. A rising phoenix out of the center. But Cerro Prieto Volcano, and on the side of it, the Mexicans are doing their version of just what we're doing on the north side. Geothermal. To get electricity. So let's recap the whole dang thing. We got a line of earthquakes that comes out of the northwest. Exploding! Explosions! Boom! But wait, the plate shifting. I already showed it to you, but I'll show it to you again. All the little red dots with the plate shifting. Now, all the other little red dots, the hot spots that are showing up. We suddenly have huge outbreaks of fires around where the hot spots are and where the earthquakes are. Pyramid Lake burning. Earthquake right in the middle of the oval. Can't ignore it. Hot spots on the west side yesterday. So when the plate starts shifting, it releases heat. And when heat gets released, we can see earthquakes. We can also see fires break out along the plate. This is not fire season. This is the start of the spring. We went and saw this in the middle of the winter. We saw this at the end of last year when they said it was fire season. But it happens when the plate shifts. It doesn't matter what time of year it is. It could be totally snowy outside. Still get all the hot spots. Still get the fires breaking out. It's crazy. That's another new discovery of me and my viewers. Mainly myself, but my viewers taking part in this as well. With the hot spots matching up with the earthquakes. And then we see noteworthy earthquakes break out. So you'll see the hot spots. You'll see the fires. And then all of a sudden, 5s, 6s start to pop off. I'm not saying that's going to happen yet. I will get a forecast out for that. Right now, the plate's shifting. When the plate shifts, I look out in the ocean, and I look down in California. So far, California started to move. We already know that. The number of earthquakes has picked up, and the magnitudes behind it should go up as well. The forecast for this week, issued 5 days ago, 2 more days in the forecast, calling for a 5 in the Bay Area of California, and for a 5 out in the ocean. That still has not taken place. Again, I issued the warning 5 days ago, 7-day watch, 2 more days to go. That puts us basically till Monday, end of Monday, West Coast time, for a 5 in the Bay Area. But I wouldn't be shocked with the number of earthquakes going up. The volcanoes moving, fires breaking out. A number of earthquakes is the definite sign that something's going on. The fires, not so much so. That's just secondary that comes after the hot spots. And the hot spots breaking out across the whole plate yesterday, which I showed you, is just insane. I don't have prior examples. Look where all these little orange and red dots are. For instance, middle of the plate today. Isn't that a change from where we were yesterday? Yes. Yesterday, we were around the outside edge of the plate. We were over on the west coast. We were down to the south. We were over on the east coast. Now we're directly in the center, where an electrical charge has gone to the center. But what happened in the center, guys? The weird earthquake up here in North Kansas. Right in the middle of all these red dots, pretty much. Right in here. It cannot be overlooked. There's some kind of piezoelectric, I don't know how to say it. Piezoelectric. Electric in the plate. Causing heat. But it's some kind of static, some kind of energies that built up from the plate shifting. It transfers across the plate. We see earthquakes break out where the hot spots take place, and fires. So, getting back to it all, lines of quakes going back up to the northwest. Let's turn back on our 7-day earthquake feed and look and see if anything else has struck since I started this whole update. Man, you want to talk about a long update. This has been a long update, but it was needed. We have our deep earthquakes. We have our threat of upper 6 to low 7s now coming in the West Pacific. We have the threat of 6s coming in up in Alaska and 6s coming in down in South America. 5s going across the rest of the plate. Then we go back over and we have another threat of a 6 over in Iran and another threat of a 6 in South Europe. That's like 4 6s. I mean, that's a lot. I hope I'm wrong. And if I am, I'll get back on and we'll reassess where the energy's going. But right now, I'm saving it now. Get it out to the world. Let everybody know. We're going the next step up. We're already at 6.5. We already warned for that, and here we are. It's taking place. But it's a deep one. So if I warn for a 6.5 and a 6.4 to 6.5 hit, and it's a deep event, I got to warn for the next magnitude larger to come out in the next week. Okay? 7 to 10 days is how long we watch on the deep quakes. So 7 days from today is taking us right into the 1st of May. So watch till May 1st, and then when we get to that 7th day, I'll discuss whether or not we watch for the full 10 or if we cancel. Or if it's a hit. It could hit by tomorrow. I mean, we have that 7-day period that we watch. I'm trying to get it down to a 7-day time period for forecasting purposes. Everybody said it was impossible to forecast. So it's pretty good to get it down to a 7-day time period on something that everybody said couldn't be done at all. Someday it'll be like the weather, hopefully. We'll be able to get it down to a day, but at this point, one-man operation, figuring out the basics and the principles behind it while everybody was trying to stop me. And they were while I was doing the research. This is serious now. This is serious. Guys, if you ever make a big discovery that conflicts with something that's already thought, turns out all the people you think would help you show up and try to stop you. Because you can't be right. Because they were supposedly right about all the other stuff. And then you find something that conflicts with it, they would rather shut you down. And that's what I ran into for the most part. It's crazy. So, anyway, you make a big discovery, people freak out on you at first, but if you keep showing people there's no denying it, there's a spread taking place, and there's no denying it, it's likely a standing wave of some kind, since we get the same sized earthquake spread out equally across a huge area. But the wave we're talking about is a massive one, a huge wave, a long wave, a very long wave, a very low wave, a very long, low wave, a very low frequency. And that gets me into the rest of the earthquakes that I didn't look up today, which is what I looked up yesterday. Thank God I didn't save it. Over in France, for instance, VLF array getting hit. Down in LA, VLF array getting hit. I didn't cover that today for a reason. You guys may have seen it last night. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you did. Good reason to come over and watch live on Twitch. By the way, if you're on YouTube, guys, word up, much love. Come over to Twitch. It's free to watch. Yeah, you got to pay to chat, but man, that keeps the trolls away for the most part. Yeah, they don't want to finance my operation. And if they do, I'll just they come in and start trolling. I ban them and keep their $5. Anyway, it's awesome. You guys are even better. I will be back. Let me encourage everybody. Have an earthquake plan. Don't be that person that just too cool to plan or whatever. You should already have the stuff you need. Change of clothes, set of shoes. Even so much as putting a set of shoes by the side of your bed, right? Earthquake happens in the middle of the night. You got broken things across the floor. Think of Bruce Willis in the movie Die Hard with Hans Gruber. Hans Gruber! But he's walking across a bed of glass. You don't want that to be you. So put a set of shoes or hard bottom slippers by the side of your bed. Also put them in your emergency kit. Change of clothes, set of shoes, socks, that kind of stuff. First aid, sanitation. Okay, come on. You're all supposed to have sanitation now, right? If you didn't before a year ago and you still don't have sanitation things, I don't know where you've been for the last year. But you put some of that into your emergency kit. And also, food and water. Now, you want to think real specific on that. You don't want long-term supplies in your emergency kit. You want to be able to grab it in a backpack or a bag, or someone in your family or your coworker be able to grab it at a moment's notice. So the lightweight, pre-packaged, dried foods, You're not going to have a big steak meal in the middle of an earthquake disaster zone. And if you are, you're the biggest jerk in the world. So, no offense. So, the prepackaged, ready-to-eat stuff. And for the liquids, you can even do, cans of water, bottles of water, that kind of stuff. But not a lot. Just enough to get you through a couple days. Now, the long-term stuff, you should have. But that's separate. I'm talking about emergency kit you can grab and go outside. Flashlight and batteries, don't rely on your phone, your mobile device. I know a lot of people use their flashlight on their mobile phone, but you're going to want to have a flashlight and batteries because the mobile phone, in a disaster, you're going to want to use that for communication. Text messaging, keeping it on in case you get a text. Chances of making a phone call in a big earthquake are pretty slim, but a lot of data services still can run. You can even connect to somebody's Wi-Fi if they have a landline that's still intact. I'm giving you ideas. You guys will come up with way, way, way better ideas than what I put out. I will save this. This is being saved. We're going to upload it over on YouTube if you missed it, and you can watch it back with me in a premiere in just a little bit. What else did I miss? Did I miss anything? I covered Hawaii this time. I covered Central America and South America. I covered the large earthquakes and what to look for. Okay, I think we're doing okay. Word up, much love. If anything develops, I will jump back on a moment's notice. Peace out.